Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the Coriolis rules by Free League Publishing. This actual play is performed by adults and contains adult themes. Strong language, powerful factions, and adventures across the third horizon await. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., which may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your storyteller. Thank you for joining us again in another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I am your story guide for this session of Children of the Periphery. My pronouns are he, him, and I am joined by an array of wonderful cast members, which we'll get to in a moment. But first, I would like to thank you for listening. And thank you, most especially Patreon supporters, for supporting the show. If you'd like to support this show and its endeavors, you can do so at patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast. Jump over to YouTube and subscribe to our YouTube channel because we have tons of fun stuff there, including new trailers airing likely in the near future. And now, I'd like to get to cast introductions. So to my right.
This is Morgan. I play Captain Amara Kasra. Our pronouns are she, her. And I'm against oppression.
I think you made that very clear last episode. To Captain Amara's right.
Hi, this is Allie, and I play Kainat Gala. Our pronouns are she, her, and I got to pet a dog, and now we're entering the danger zone.
Danger zone reference we've already gotten to. And to Kainat's right.
Hi, this is Rena. I play Tamarisk Anvari. Our pronouns are they, them, and I've got a bad feeling about this.
Hello, I am Rosie of Odd Duck Dice, playing Icarus. Our pronouns are she, her, and I'm here. I'm doing the thing. It seems really counterintuitive to the scolding I received on the ship before we got off the ship, but I'm here, and I'm doing the thing. And you know, I'm pretty goddamn good at getting out of tight places, so hopefully that means get us out of here alive.
It's important to have hopes and dreams. So, last session, our crew met Afsin again, a Portal Authority guard who they'd met during the boarding of their ship, who pleaded for their help during the observances. The observances on Ramasi, and including the majority of the Sadal system, religious observances which are meant to show proper power and authority to the priests in charge. Our Amentat is the lead in charge from Sadal, but he has many different priests thrown throughout the system. It has been discovered, however, that these specific observances do seem to also be used in a way to root out those people whom might not align with what the religious leaders of these planets want. And it seems also, from what Afsin has told the crew, that his own family has been captured. And most important to him at this point is the recovery of his sister, who he says is going to be taken to a nearby place. He has shared with the crew that his sister's Rana is likely going to be placed into a re-education facility to more properly align with the religious teachings. He does not want this life for her. He has pleaded with the crew for this to not happen. And they have agreed to assist him. That was about an hour ago. And so as dusk gets closer, the crew and Afsin have made their way back into the town proper, a town of probably 30 or maybe 40,000 souls. And they have scouted out a place to set up and watch the event in hopes that there will be a moment, perhaps an opportunity to retrieve Rana and then make their way off planet. And so this place is a crossroads, a direct intersection where all of the normal business of the movement of vehicles and people has been cleared out. And there is a square now in the center of these two streets. This is where the observances take place. There's a stage. There are officiants and there are priests of the local religion, and they are going through the motions of delivering prayers to a obelisk, which is used as a focusing device to send that energy to Sidal and to Armentat. And he has pointed out to you four smaller structures, one that is placed at each one of the corners of this crossroad. And on these structures are where the families of those who are going to go through what they call the ordeal, meaning the sacrifice, are placed. And currently the group is waiting to see Rana be placed on one of these pedestals to watch what happens to her parents. And so as we lift this curtain, that is the tension presented to our crew. Roughly speaking, there are probably 100 or 200 people, at least in the immediate area. Most of them are on their knees in prayerful reflection, dutiful reflection. Afsin lets the crew know that these are the most fervent religious supporters who are here to shed their energy and to observe those blockages being removed. The crew is in a building nearby, just a little bit down the street, probably no more than 2 or 3 structures, and you're up on a second floor space. So you have a little bit of an elevated position. And I will turn the narration over to you.
Yeah, so I look over at Afsin. So you know these streets better than we do. What is our best bet to grab your sister and go?
So Afsin looks over sort of some of the meager equipment that's available. This apartment, which is the room you're in, is bereft of anything. It's been cleaned out. He says, it would be possible, maybe if we could find a way to acquire a vehicle to make our getaway. There are vehicles in the area and they won't be used during the observances. So getting a hold of one shouldn't be terribly difficult, provided someone was skilled enough to do so.
I look over at Icarus.
I know how to do that. She glances out the window to see how full the streets are. Does it look like the streets will be accessible for a quick getaway, or should she be looking at something that can accommodate a rooftop?
I think accommodating a rooftop is an option in your mind. It would take some fairly fancy flying if you were going to pluck Rana off one of these pedestals. Depending on the type of vehicle, whether it be a simple hover vehicle or something maybe a little bit more agile like a speeder, you could attempt to adjust the elevation that the vehicle flies at. And then you could try to sort of a flyby, snatch and grab sort of situation. So that's a possibility as well. It's really a matter of how exciting you'd like it to be.
It's going to be exciting regardless. I mean, it doesn't really seem that we have any good access to the victims before they're, but so she's going to have to be watching. Is she going to be watching from an enclosed space, or is her own horror going to be part of the festivities?
Yeah, you see a grim look sort of splash over his face, and he says she'll be with the others meant to watch this ordeal. She'll likely be on one of these pedestal stages to be forced to look down as my mother and father are dealt with.
Okay. So, Cap, I'm going to see if I can get Rakham to start working on some calculations to, hop, skip our way out. And I am going to do a little reconnaissance to see what kind of vehicle I can find. Oh, I used to be a getaway driver.
I am so shocked. Hey, I think we should create a disturbance. So everything gets... I look over at Afsin. Do you know of someplace we can get explosives?
No. Not that are accessible. The closest thing you might be able to get a hold of is a high-powered rifle. There's a lot of people going to be down there.
Oh, we don't want to set the people... We don't want to explode something near the people. We want to draw their attention away. Do you have access to any other incendiary devices, like to set something on fire?
Yes, I have access to, or I had access to a barracks, but being that I'm a fugitive now, I'm certain that they'll have rescinded any sort of authorization I would have had or ability.
Do you have any friends that work in the barracks?
Not that would be willing to risk their own life to help me.
This is more difficult than I imagined.
It's certainly not a cakewalk.
It isn't.
There's got to be things we can set on fire without using an incendiary device.
Is there a sewer system? Something that can cause a traumatic cave-in, or I agree, like a big boom is best. Oh, where would your religious folks be before the ceremony?
At the temple.
Which one?
One of the 8 that surround the area, likely the Polestar, the northern position.
Go after that.
It is fairly heavily guarded.
We're doing stupid anyway.
We are?
This is stupid.
I guess, what do you propose, Icarus?
Are you okay with killing any of these religious people?
No.
That makes it harder.
She speaks.
Let's try to make it out with minimal casualties on both sides. I'm sure the locals will take care of them at some point.
Well, I have some reconnaissance to do. And before Icarus leaves, she does look at the captain and say, while I'm scooping this child up, how am I supposed to stop everyone else from trying to get in? Are we prepared to have people on board? What are we going to do with them? Think about that, please. Not my problem, but think about it.
Well, is the plan to scoop the child up from the hovercraft, or will you be waiting right outside the group of people and then we come to you?
Oh, I was just going to scoop, but if you're prepared to go in and extract, that works too.
Considering the height, it might be best to use the craft. I don't know how else we'd get up there, grab her, and get down from that.
Okay. Then maybe we need somebody else to go with Icarus as well. Because how is Icarus going to scoop up the child when Icarus is flying the hovercraft?
I'd go. My portable lab in the backpack, but that's hefty enough that if absolutely necessary, she can hold on to that.
Couldn't you cook up something in your portable lab, explosive-wise?
You know, I'm pretty sure that's not in my wheelhouse.
It could be.
I mean, I have the science for it.
So why don't you stay with the captain and cook something up, and I can go with Icarus, because explosives and that sort of thing aren't exactly my forte. Can't really challenge them to a dance-off.
How many people am I actually going to need to be transporting? Is it just back to the periphery? Is it myself, Tamarisk, and the child? Or is it all 6 of us? Will you meet us back at the ship?
I think we should meet you back at the ship. If we can create a distraction.
Icarus sort of chews her lip and looks mischievous.
As the conversation continues, Kainat, are you going to take out the lab and begin preparing or seeing what you have?
Yeah, might as well.
Okay.
Pull out like little bottles of stuff, and I imagine I'm rolling at least science. Do you want me to roll wits science?
Yeah, it's a grouped roll. They're always grouped rolls. It's attribute plus skill.
Okay. Well, then I have a shit ton of dice. Hold on. I have a dice pool of 7 with 3 successes.
Okay, so 3 is a critical success. You do have something here which, even with the meager cooktop that the apartment offers you, you could likely make something into, some sort of an incendiary device. It would definitely be improvised, but it would blow up.
Well, I have something. I'll hold it up after it's been, made, concocted. It should work.
Wonderful. Afsin, where would be the best place to put this, where it would cause the least amount of casualty, but the biggest amount of boom.
Well, if somehow you could get it underneath the center stage there, it might... I don't know how big the explosion is. Do you know how powerful this is?
No. I'm hoping it's not powerful enough to cause, well, death. It's not really something I'm comfortable with, just blowing people up. I'd rather blow something rather than someone.
Okay. You figure the blast power for this is probably around 6 or 7, although the damage itself is probably just a 1. So it's not very damaging, but it's going to have a loud bang and a fairly heavy wave report.
That's great. That's exactly what I want. Loud and flashy, not lethal.
Yep. It'll probably also provide some smoke as cover.
Perfect.
How do you propose we get to the dais?
You see Afsin sort of sit up a little bit and look back out the window. If you're going to get down there to place some sort of device, then you're going to have to walk amongst the people. And it looks like some more people are beginning to fill in. Dusk is getting closer. There will be people moving on foot, even around the area. It's going to take a fairly sneaky person to be able to get around those guards.
Somebody else is going to have to deliver it, because that's not me.
Give me the device. Afsin, they already know what you look like. Even if you were wearing a face covering, we don't need you caught.
I want to help somehow. I want to be involved in this.
The information that you're providing is help enough. In the center there, do they make offerings?
They do sometimes. But this is more of how do I explain? This is more of a court proceeding than... This is their judgment. While their observances might allow for some offerings in exchange for observance, it is more about being there as a person than providing anything. You might see some sparse desert flowers or perhaps a loaf of bread, but you are not going to see any grand gestures.
How big is the explosive device? Kinda.
It's probably the size of like a grenade, something small. My travel kit is travel sized. It's not going to make anything big. It's not like I'm going to be able to make something bigger than like a landmine. So it's something that you can carry in your pocket. It's not large.
Is there any bread or anything around this apartment?
There's nothing to eat here. You've seen that. But it might be possible to get a hold of some food. I can go in there and try to do that.
That would be a big help.
All right. I'll be back. Afsin stands and walks out.
All right, I'm holding the device. So how does this work, kinda? Do I just toss it under?
So the travel kit by itself, basically, it's mostly chemicals. So just shake it real good before you get ready to unload it wherever you want.
How fast do I have to run to get away?
6-10 seconds before it'll go off.
I love the exact nature of this.
All right, well, I'll get as close as possible and try to toss it.
Okay. Tiramis is going to head back then with Icarus to the ship. I get the feeling that's going to happen.
Correct.
And I thought they were going to steal a hovercraft.
Well, Icarus has some other thoughts.
Oh, you're going to get ghosts, aren't you?
Yeah. There's nothing faster than my sweet lady. So we're gonna head back to the ship. And this also allows Icarus to do whatever prep work would be necessary to get Rakham ready and our engineer ready to get the fuck off planet. Because Ghost is fast, but Icarus is flashy. Yeah, and they're probably going to notice something.
Oh yeah, I mean, Rakham will for sure. When you head back to the ship, you'll be notified by Rakham that Fida is resting at the moment. Obviously, Rakham has no idea what's going on. But as soon as you head back towards the cargo bay, especially if you have not informed Tamarisk about what you're doing, that will look a little strange.
So Icarus gets on the ship and she wants to go immediately to Ghost to unpackage it because she's been very, very good about not going back there. But she pauses, looks up at the ceiling to address Rakham. I kind of imagine that's what she does whenever she's talking to the ship. And we're gonna need to get out fast and do some jump calculations. We're pulling a bit of a heist. I am going to get Ghost, and Tamarisk is going to go with me, and then we'll come back here, and then we're gonna have to fly fast, really fast.
So Tamarisk, you're obviously there when you hear her say this.
I thought the plan was we were going to find something else. Can you fit 2 grown adults and a child on Ghost?
Well, she's going to have to sandwich between us, but that's probably the safest way to do it anyway.
Why?
I've flown 2 adults, 1 injured on that thing. That beautiful, beautiful thing. Trust me, you want me to do this right. You want me to be fast, and you want me to move at the speed of thought.
I suppose. This plan is getting worse all the time.
It's getting fun. Come on, Tamarisk, it's getting fun.
Rakham's voice overhead seems to get a little gravelly. You hear something strange in his output. His accent is a little different. And you hear him say, "Finally, some fucking action."
Are you okay, Rakham?
Damn right. I'm prepping the bike now.
Oh, okay, thanks. Are you sure you're okay? You sound like you have a cold, which isn't something that can happen.
You don't get a response, but by the time you step into the cargo bay, the clamshell that holds Ghost has deployed, and you see the bike sort of just hovering in space there, because obviously it's a hover bike.
Okay, thank you. Do you know how to start those calculations?
We'll get to it.
This is something we should prep before we get going. I have a little time to work on that, especially since you've got Ghosts ready to go.
We'll be perfectly fine.
Your confidence is magnificent. I'm confident in our abilities to get us out. I'm not confident in the space-time continuum not ripping us apart when we jump.
All right. I'll work on it.
Okay. Do you want help with that?
Nah. I'm sure it'll be fine.
You know, I'm going to help you. I would really like to do some math right now.
Don't you have someone to save?
We should probably go. Icarus, we're running low on time.
Okay. Take something for that cold, I guess. All right.
Yeah, you don't hear from Rakham for the rest of the time that you're there. The bike is a unique experience all its own, really. This is true for both of you who eventually get on it. For you, Icarus, this is the embrace of a lover. This is the second chance that you were dreaming about. The hand grips are molded. They conform to your fingers when you grasp them in the way that a lover might take your hand. The bike is silent, except for just the lightest of hums. There are no strained movements. For you, Tamarisk, this speeder and its driver are liquefied danger. Just getting it moved around here in the cargo bay. It moves with grace and speed, but there are very few handholds. There are some at the back. There are 2 just under the seat, or there is Icarus. That's it. And just from the way this thing moves and looks, it's going to be a lot to handle.
Are you quite certain you can control this?
Oh, she's a handful, but You need 2 hands to get a good grip. Yeah, I'm good. Just hold on to me.
Feel rather like I'm intruding on something very intimate, but all right.
No comment.
Captain, you are making your way to a very important spot. Afsin has offered you a loaf of bread as your delivery mechanism. It is a long, almost baguette style bread, although it's not a baguette, but it is that form. And he suggests that you could secrete the device, this explosive device inside the bread.
It's going to look very odd when I shake the bread. But I do that because I want to be able to make it to the front.
Yep.
So yep, I secure the explosive device inside the not baguette and make my way towards the front.
Okay. So what I'm going to have you do as you begin this journey is I would like you to make an agility infiltration roll.
Well, that'll be fun.
I think so.
I think I'm going to fail that. But okay. And I failed that.
Okay, so you have a couple of choices. You could give me a darkness point, right? You could, and re-roll. Of course, just like in any system, this is you pushing the roll. Any failed push rolls are bad. You could choose to fail the roll. That's up to you.
I will give you a darkness point.
I will take that darkness point, thank you.
I got 1. Just 1.
1 is all you need for the moment. So you do the intelligent thing first, and that is you stop on the street and you spend a couple of minutes watching people move. You watch them move up and down. You watch them move into accordance and a line. You see them move through spaces, and you get the rhythm of the space that you're trying to infiltrate. You see that there's a series of groups that have been lined up on each one of the cardinal points of the street. And there are people kneeling and praying, and in general, in silent observation of these ordeals, these observances before the ordeal starts. And that's really when things take a turn. On the major dais, square dais that's here in the crossroad of this urban center, they start bringing people out from a nearby building. They are bound with their hands behind their back. There's about 12 of them, and they get brought onto stage with assistance. I think that is probably the most pleasant way to say, from these authority soldiers. I say soldiers because they're armed with rifles. And they push people into position. And when they push people into position, they point them towards that northernly area of the street. So they're facing north. And then they, one by one, begin pressing them to their knees and forcing them to prostrate themselves to that position. I think the toughest part is the silence. The fact that people aren't calling out for it to stop. The fact that no one is rebelling. People are just simply accepting. And it sort of gets under your skin. And you have to hold back your own sort of force of what is right and what is wrong. And then you clutch the baguette, which is not a baguette, one with the chemical explosive device in it. And you realize that because all eyes are on the stage, on that end of the stage, or are pointed to the ground in observance of these ghastly rituals, you have a perfect opportunity to deliver your offering.
My jaw is clenched, and my hands are clenched around the not baguette in such a way that it's kind of crumbling on the ends to almost white knuckle it. Am I at the front already, or no?
No, not yet. You are not at the front, but you can begin making your way there. Back at the ship, Icarus, you're ducking in to perhaps say a quick prayer to the gambler.
Yes, Icarus ducks into our little chapel, bows her head in respect to each icon, but she even moves the cloth covering the faceless one to say hi, and says a devotion to the gambler, maybe pours out a little bit of some kind of liquid. She doesn't have time to get a really proper offering, but luckily this is one of those icons that simplicity is not looked down upon, because you've got to work with what you have to hand.
That's very true. That's very gamblery too. Work with what you have, or acquire things you don't.
Well, she's working on that part.
Indeed. So once that's done, the two of you jumping on that wonderful speeder bike and heading out.
Mm-hmm. And Icarus, just sort of the way the bike is shaped, it is very much like sort of laying down with a lover, like she's the big spoon in this embrace. And then there's Tamarisk as the rocket pack on the back of that. But she is cozy.
As a courtesan, Tamarisk, you've seen people have many different types of sexual experiences. You're witnessing one now. It is what it is.
Don't kink shame.
That's right. Not on this show. You take off. Ghost is as slippery as any spirit could be. Icarus excels at that dance that the two of them begin to go through. I don't think motion sickness does it justice, being on the back. There's no give for you at all, Tamarisk. The bike and the rider are one, and you're sort of along for the ride at high speed. It is thrilling once you get past the whole green new experience portion of it. But you hammer the throttle off towards the observance area. Captain, you get to the front of this space where offerings are set at. They're not set on the stage. They're set right at the southern base of the stage. You'll simply have to prepare the device and then decide how and when you're going to move away.
Is everybody's attention drawn the other way now?
Yeah, for the most part. And then I'd just like to really quick get a touch on where Kainat is during this situation. The captain went out to go deliver the explosive device that you created. Where are you at? Are you staying in the room? Are you heading back to the ship?
I am staying with the person we're smuggling off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're staying with Afsin after he brought back the bread?
Yeah. So if he decides to leave, I'm going to be with him, so that way he at least has some idea of where we need to go in order to get back to the ship, just in case things go south.
He goes to ground level. He can't not, because his parents are on that stage.
Well, then I will be sticking with him.
Okay. Given your role, Captain, you just walk me through setting down the offering and then what you're going to do afterwards.
I will be, as I'm moving towards, I do start shaking the bread slightly. And while everybody's attention is drawn elsewhere, I will place it as close underneath the dais that I can for the biggest bang for my buck.
Okay.
Knowing I only have 6 to 7 seconds to get away, I will start walking briskly back whence I came. And after I get back into where I'm assuming is it a path, or is everybody just like sprawled out?
Yeah, it's not a path at all. People are grouped. Imagine a 4-way intersection, right? Imagine everything in the center of that 4 intersection cleared out and there being a big square stage on it. And then in the crosswalks of each one of those lanes, there are people who are sitting, kneeling, and bowing in prayer. And they're just collected. So some of them are rowed up like as if they're in the same family, but there are other people who are just there by themselves. It reminds you like people watching a celebration or like fireworks. People are packed together.
So I believe each, and so as I am walking amongst the crowd, I will yell fire.
Okay. So let me make sure that I'm 100% clear. You've shaken up the bomb. You've placed it. You turn to go in a different direction because you want to stay there.
Right.
And you basically, in your head, have a 5 Mississippi count before a bomb goes off. You said, I am walking. Are you walking?
Well, I don't want to run to draw attention.
Okay.
I will be walking very quickly away from here. I'm going to power walk away from here.
Make sure you move your arms. So you're going to power walk and say fire. I'm sort of imagining this very comedically, right? Fire.
Because fire can, yelling fire in a building can cause commotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're outside, but
Certainly.
so yeah, as I'm briskly walking away, I will yell off to the look another direction and yell off, fire!
Okay. Awesome. So I would like to give you the opportunity. Yeah, make it stick, right? So I'll give you an empathy command roll in an attempt to disperse the crowd or cause confusion. I think that seems reasonable.
I get two successes.
Very good. Okay, so I am going to play a Hand of Fate for you, Captain Amara, and I'm going to upgrade that to a critical success. The first Hand of Fate I'm playing in our series goes to Captain Amara.
Thank you, Patreon.
You scream fire, and when you do, lots of heads turn. Lots of them. People on the stage, people on the ground. Fire is sort of this universal fear that most carbon-based life forms have. And so when the call for fire goes into the air, lots of people get concerned. At the same time, I'm going to have Icarus make me a piloting roll. She is going to do so with an additional 2 dice for maneuverability based off of Ghost, because Ghost is a highly maneuverable vehicle.
Okay. So that is 4 successes in my pool, and then I have a +1 from my talisman.
Right. Okay, so 5. It's exceptional, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to lay out some guidelines, and then I'm going to give the player, Rosie, a little narrative control over what she does, because I think that's fun. As Ghost rockets down the street towards the observers, you see a figure standing at one edge of this space. You see Afsin. You pick him up on the targeting cyberware you have. It's a face you know, and so the cyberware kicks in and immediately does a facial recognition and points him out, highlights him in the UI, and flags him as a friendly. What you see is him pointing to one of the daises, one of these 4-cornered stages that sit on the corners of each one of these buildings, where the survivors are going to observe their family being, well, those blocks being cleared in their life. And you see who he's pointing to. You see your target. And at the same time, you see Captain Amara seemingly running away, fast walking away from the main stage. And so you know she's done her job. Those are your parameters. You have your target. You could make an exit any which way you'd like. So tell us how Icarus saves Rana.
Icarus doesn't slow down, that's for sure. She rockets in, fast as thought, leaning a little bit with the weight of the bike to give Tamarisk a better angle to grab. Is Rhonda, is she restrained in any way, or is she just standing there?
So Rana is being held, not in a aggressive manner, but she has a guard who stands behind her and has placed his hand sort of heavily against her collarbone to hold her back, because the expectation, of course, likely is that they'd surge forward once their parents are dealt with.
Okay. Then what she does is she swings up behind, and because of the targeting scope in her eye, I want her to, just in that brief moment, she pauses before Tamarisk can grab Rana. She snags the back of this gentleman's coat and yanks him back so that he falls off the dais. And Tamarisk has an opening to grab the kid, because it's kind of difficult to do that while there's another human being in between.
Yeah, so it's a sort of concert of actions coming together. So the nice part for you, Tamarisk, is that such a success is going to put you up a die for this action. The only downside is that you're really going to get one shot at this. And so this is an agility, dexterity roll that you'll need to make. You'll get an additional die.
All right, so that'll be 7. That's 1 success.
Okay. In the Coriolis system, you only need 1 success to achieve a goal. So when Icarus rips this guard out of position, he's going to tumble off of the back of the dais. It leaves an opening for you to grab Rana, which you do. You scoop her up as the bomb goes off. So I think Kainat should roll the explosive damage because she's the one that built the bomb. That seems only fair.
What am I rolling for it?
That's a great question. So you're going to roll weapon damage. This grenade is going to do, or this explosive, I should say. It is going to do, the dice are equal to blast power, so that's 6 dice. Once for each person within close range of the explosion. So that is effectively, well, that's the thing, right? Because it was placed in a method as to not necessarily hurt people.
Yeah.
So yeah, so go ahead and roll that, and then let me know how many successes you get.
2.
Okay. So with 2 successes on an explosive device, that is the critical rating for that explosive, meaning it needs 2 successes to crit. It can't crit on anything less than that. And so what is going to happen is that it is going to deal damage, critical damage to the stage. So the stage cracks like an egg, and everybody else begins to fall into it, right? We've all seen those terrible home videos where like there are too many people on a single stage and it collapses. That's what happens, except that it does so because a bomb went off underneath of it. And what is likely happen is that the ground itself underneath the stage has collapsed, including the sewer systems. And so everything drops like a souffle, except with fire rather than eggs. That said, there are going to be some guards that are going to get an opportunity to fire at Ghost and at Icarus and company. We'll see what happens. I'm going to say at least 3 of them get the opportunity to shoot at you. Okay. I would like you to make me a piloting roll, Rosie. So you're actually down, because 3 people are shooting at you, you're going to be down 3 dice than what you normally would be down, but Ghost gives you 2 from an ability, so it's really only down 1.
Oh, baby. So that's 2 on the dice with the +1 from my talisman, so 3 total.
Yeah, you do something that your fellow writers are probably not expecting, which is pretty much everything. The thing that in your heart you know Ghost can do, and that's barrel roll.
Yes.
It's the most effective way to get yourself out of the situation. So after you blast through the stage and snatch the kid, as that rifle fire comes in, you spin high to the right, essentially force Ghost to think that the side of this building is the ground, and then lean hard left. And so it's not an immediate barrel roll for you, Tamarisk. It's more, the first part is very gentle. The end of it is very violent. Like the whiplash that comes with it is something else. And so as a complication, because I think it's important to have complications in this, I'm going to ask you to make a strength roll. And that strength roll is to hold on to Rana as you flip.
Joy. Okay, that's going to be 3 dice. 2 successes.
Okay. You effectively just tighten up. Everything tightens up. You're smushed between her. You've got Rana smushed between you and Icarus, and you basically clamp your thighs under the side of this hover bike. And when the whole 3 of you roll, you keep everybody intact. And Icarus hits the throttle harder as the bike levels out. And I'm going to assume, although I shouldn't, are you heading back to the ship?
Yes. We're driving along that wall, barrel rolling, and going along the rooftops back to the ship as quickly as possible, getting stowed. She wants to get the Periphery ready to go as soon as everyone is on board.
Right.
Because the authorities will probably be coming. It's just a matter of, is she fast enough to get back to the ship to prep before the authorities show up? So fucking fast.
You'll likely beat the ground team there. So Afsin, Kainat, and Captain Amara are bolting out as well. The entirety of the observances ceremony becomes essentially a zone of chaos. Regular, everyday people who were there to do their religious duties, so they have been taught and told, are in the same grip of fear and chaos that the soldiers there are in. Alarms begin sounding as the three of you are hustling away from the scene, and Austin is sort of pressing you to get into one of the metro tubes that will take you back to the spaceport, because he wants to make sure that you get back there before things get shut down, because they'll likely shut the port down because of the incident. That's his fear. And then no one will get out.
That's not gonna fucking stop me, but okay.
Well, I mean, I don't think it would either, but it doesn't mean that he's not concerned about it. Anything specific you're doing then, Amara?
So we're on the tube right now?
You are, and it's hustling away, and you can see that the 2 or 3 screens that are in the tube, which were normally off, are now on, and they're broadcasting a message about the observance ceremony being attacked.
I look at Afsin. I'm sorry we couldn't save your whole family.
He sort of looks back out the window as the tube continues to accelerate away from the observances ceremony. I am too. This is what they wanted. This is what they asked me to do, to get Rana out. They used to support the Yarnat. They used to support him. They believed in his message of unity. They believed that Coriolis and the people of the Third Horizon were for the most lost, desperately connected to every pleasure they could get their hands on. They believed that a pious and quiet life was best. That vision has been subverted here. It's been twisted.
Well, we will get you somewhere safe. We have a way to smuggle you out.
I wonder where we will go from here.
There's a lot of planets that are welcoming.
I hope Rana is okay.
Oh, I'm sure Icarus and Tamarisk are taking good care of her.
Back at the ship, when you get there, when the 3 of you get there, the cargo bay drops to allow Ghost back in and the folks who are riding on it. You can tell already that the ship has started to take some sort of pre-flight procedures. The ship is warm. It's humming by the time you get back in. Rana is in shock. She doesn't understand what's happening. She's crying. She's concerned about where her parents are.
I'll do my best to calm her down, just speaking to her very quietly, very gently, telling her that her brother is coming. Just constant flow of words, just calming words in a very calming tone. Even if she doesn't hear them because she's freaking out, it should at least eventually even her out a little bit. That's the plan.
For you, this is likely no different than a lot of other situations that you've been asked to deal with, perhaps not just children, but people who do not necessarily always communicate in the same ways. And so a courtesan's ability to properly cut through the noise, or perhaps give their voice as a focusing tool for others, is something that you're fairly adept in. It's not something I'll make you roll for, because I don't think the role is important, but the time spent is important. It's something that Tamarisk is going to have to focus on directly and likely do very little else until the situation gets resolved. What are you doing, Icarus?
She pauses to give Ghost a kiss and just like a little peck, and says, Rakham, I love you. Thank you. Okay, here we go. And she is off to that pilot's chair. This is what she does.
That same voice you'd heard from before from Rakham come over and say, I'm warming weapons currently.
Why do you have weapons? I'm hoping we don't need those. We'll see, though.
I'd be really disappointed if we don't.
Keep a hold of yourself there, buddy.
It's strange. You know that doesn't sound like Rakham at all. You're going to have to look into that, you think?
She is internally blaming Fida for screwing around in there.
Well, the voice didn't show up until after you got back, and you did leave Fida alone with the ship, so who knows what he did. The two bride delivers the captain, Kainat, and Afsin to the spaceport. The spaceport is suddenly buzzing with very different activity. You can see that several ships are trying to make a more expeditious journey. Get back aboard your ship, Captain.
I briskly walk to the bridge. Rakham, where are we at?
You hear a heavy, gritty male voice come over. We're just about there. Another 15 seconds. I'd say strap in.
Oh, well. My, did you suddenly take up smoking?
What?
Nothing. All right. I make an announcement over the intercom. All right, folks, sit your asses down. We're going to go.
Icarus pulls out that storyteller you had described as sort of yoke for more precision flying.
I did.
She pulls that out and says, you with me, Rakham?
Right here. Ready?
Hit it, baby.
There is a sudden and immediate heavy shuddering from the bottom of the ship. The ship seems to thump against the ground as all of the maneuvering thrusters are pointed down to push the ship into the air vertically. And then, sooner than most of your stomachs would appreciate, all the power is delivered to the back of the engines, and you begin to burst your way into the atmosphere. So the crew gets a long glance at what's left of the planet. While you didn't stay here very long, Ramasi does seem to be a planet that was once verdant. It has clearly changed in many, many ways. And the upper atmosphere eventually bleeds away to the blackness of space. Joining you on the bridge is, I guess, the newest stowaway. And that's Afsin, who, again, looks out amongst the stars in wonder and likely more than a little bit of fear. What's the plan, Captain?
We're on our way to Menkar. We can drop you between here and there.
Menkar? Oh, that's right. You did mention you were going for some sort of, archaeological dig?
That's correct.
Well, I suppose once we put in the next system, I can do all sorts of things. I could potentially claim political asylum. I won't be the first who's done so.
Most certainly not.
Where is Rana?
Where is Rana? Icarus?
Tamarisk has her, was calming her down.
She's all right.
Oh, yeah.
Wonderful.
I wouldn't be here if she wasn't. Something awful would have happened and none of us would be here.
You see tears come to Afsin's eyes, and he looks around. Where is Tamarisk? And where can I find my sister?
Tamarisk would have gone probably to the Arboretum because of all the calming nature sounds and the plants and everything. And she would have told Icarus that's where they were going.
All right, then Icarus will share that.
Mm-hmm.
They went to the Arboretum, and she gestures sort of vaguely to one side of the ship.
Okay. Yeah, Afsin runs to find his sister. You see him come in to the Arboretum, and the Arboretum's cool, but it's not huge. It's a pleasant little park space for what it is. And so you can hear his voice, and Rana responds immediately to hearing her brother's voice. He comes in and calls your name and then runs over to where you're sitting, and they embrace, both weeping at being able to see one another again. His face is full of relief and joy, and he thanks you implicitly for saving her.
Tamarisk is pretending not to be emotional, but inside they're feeling emotional. We did what we could. I'm sorry we couldn't do more.
It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We will find a way. Maybe they'll have called off the observances. Maybe this will change something.
We can hope.
He sits down with Ronald just on the floor of the Arboretum, and they do nothing but be in each other's presence, both relieved at how this has turned out for them. And I think that's probably as good a time to end our tale today. So I want to thank you for joining us for this episode of Children of the Periphery. I know the cast had a lot of fun today, and so we look forward to delivering you yet another fun episode next time. Thank you, and good night.